It even angered local residents some of these popular locations. For example, residents of the Croatian city of Dubrovnik, known to fans of the series as the capital of one of the Seven Kingdoms, complain that it turned into Disneyland. 15 years ago, I begged people to come to Dubrovnik, and now pray that they went somewhere, says Croatian tour guide. In 2010, a year before the release of the series, Croatia was visited by 9 million people. And in 2018, this number increased to 18.4 million, and many of them just went to Dubrovnik. Another place, Iceland, a leader in the growing numbers of tourists. From 500,000 in 2010 increased to 2.2 million in 2018. For comparison, search for tours in France has not changed significantly over this period. Icelandic tour guide tells how one Japanese tourist was seriously expecting to see in the country of magical creatures. He was disappointed when I said they only exist on TV, he says. From the crowds and even to the residents of the Scottish Isle of Skye, where the shooting has not yet passed and planned this year. Police have warned people in 2017 not to visit the island if they are not pre-reserved hotel. People who live in the village nearby have to plan how to get to work, says Ostra Janine. Sometimes the fire trucks can't move. The manifesto of the Great Replacement is an echo of the typical right-wing theory that blacks and Muslim immigrants in the West are invaders, which the ruling elite tries to replace the local ethnic Europeans. Variants of this previously marginal theory is now prevalent, not only in the publications of mentally ill people in social networks, but also in the speeches of politicians from Hungary to US. State IL, the newspaper writes. It was in France, and there was a theory in the 1970s in the works of such intellectuals as Antoine de Benoit and Renaud Camus. It's often associated with the idea that multinational companies do not increase, but rather destroy cultural diversity by the mixing of cultures and races. Researcher, Norwegian Center for the Study of Extremism Jacob Asland, said that white extremism is more widespread than we think. A formal definition of terrorism demands that a terrorist attack was planned in advance, whereas a large part of right-wing terrorism is spontaneous. Therefore, even the burning of the refugee camps is considered a hate crime and not a terrorist attack. Even in Ukraine after the Maidan, it is possible to see manifestations of white terrorism, in particular, in the Azov battalion, the newspaper said. Anton Shakovtsov from the University of Vienna says that Kiev has become an attractive place for global right-wing movements, and you can see even American radicals. For career success, it is better to start with a less prestigious organization that advises the publication. The greatest opportunities for development are not always in the most prominent places. They're in places where you can be most influential, where you can gain the skills and social capital. So, study the professional football teams of 2017 showed that players demoted to lower-level competition with weaker opponents eventually raise the level and receive a large salary. This is because they have less competition, and as a result, they play more and develop. Kat Cole, the head of one of the largest US bakeries, Cinnabon, began her career with a modest post of a waitress in a café Hooters, which had just developed. Masters of the Wharton Business School did not knock on the door to work at Hooters, so the company had to look for the talent inside, says Cole. I got a lot of opportunities for development and growth within the company for lack of talent from the outside. At the age of 21 years, the Count flew to Australia to open the first franchise, and 26 had already been vice president of Cinnabon, the newspaper said. She would not be able to get the same features in a large bureaucratic organization or company. Scientists have found that if you ask people to remember something painful, and then they put to sleep anesthetic propofol, these memories are much harder mention of the next day, writes The Independent. Everything from fear of spiders to post-traumatic syndrome potentially can be cured if scientists can find a way to use this effect for the patients, the newspaper writes. Previously, it was thought that to eradicate personal memory of people is impossible, but later experiments showed Chris that it is not. However, the procedures that were used in these experiments, the injection of substances into the brain of the animal, is not suitable for people.